right. Hello, Product Aotearoa. So good to be here. Thank you for having me. We all know that building products is all about balancing business, technology, and people. And today I want to help make the people side a little bit easier in this wild AI world we find ourselves in. So we'll take a look at why customer understanding matters more than ever, how to build that muscle, and how to move faster with more confidence, keeping our customers at the core. Over the last decade, I've been fortunate enough to work across a number of fun products and experiences, from small to medium to increasingly large organizations. And I've spent the last few years working on a little product some of you may be familiar with. Jira. Yes, that Jira. Who here has used Jira before? That's what I thought. And who's wished it could do something differently? We'll talk about Jira a little bit later, but first, let's talk about research. The word gets thrown a lot around in product and design. Who here has had a chance to work with a dedicated product or UX researcher before? Okay, cool, so about half of us. So what do we mean when we talk about research? If you ask some product folk, you might get the impression that research can sometimes be the problem child, bringing in issues, slowing things down, asking what evidence we have to support our decisions. And yes, research can focus a lot on what is going wrong and what needs to change. If you ask my friends, you'll probably assume research is asking why about 500 times and being constantly nosy. And you wouldn't be wrong, but that's just one part of it. The way I see it, research is a process of learning that helps us see opportunities and possibilities more clearly. It's not just understanding the problem, but understanding what we can actually do about it. I like to think of research as the headlights for product growth and innovation. Research can help shape and guide our direction, give us confidence in where we're heading, and help us see opportunities more clearly. And to put it plainly, research is good business. Research protects our time, it protects our roadmap and our reputation. It helps us prevent costly mistakes and directly impacts our bottom line. Customers who see value in your product are more likely to adopt it, and satisfied customers are more likely to stick around. At the end of the day, research is the best insurance policy you'll ever invest in. Organizations that deeply understand their customers move faster and build better products. And you might wonder, well, isn't it just talking to customers on a regular basis? What's the big deal? So let's talk about a confusion that costs teams a lot of time. On one hand, we have customer conversations. Think of these as the more casual, opportunistic discussions you have with your customers. You might jump on a call with a customer to get their feedback on how they're using a new feature. Maybe you do continuous discovery and talk to a customer a week. This is where you build awareness and empathy. It's where you generate signal and hypotheses. Research, on the other hand, is a more systematic approach. It requires you to have a clear objective, choose the right participants, control for bias, analyze patterns in your data. Research is where you build confidence. Both are important and both should coexist. That's usually where the golden aha moments happen, when you connect the threads across both. Let's talk about why research matters more than ever. Now, I'm sure we'll explore many dimensions of AI today, but the reality is we are living in an incredible era for product builders. The tools at our disposal are more powerful and more accessible than ever. And whether you agree with Sam Altman's perspective or not, the barriers to building products have never been lower, and the speed at which we can deliver tech to people has never been faster. But the bleak reality is, many of these AI tools just aren't hitting the mark. Gartner estimates that 40% of agentic AI projects will be cancelled by the end of 2027, with the sobering reality that many of these agentic AI propositions lack significant value or return on investment. So if 2025 wasn't concerning enough, we're heading towards a wasteland of useless technology and burned resources due to tech that doesn't solve a real human need. In this new AI landscape, the real advantage isn't just about whether you can build something or how fast you can build it. It's about knowing how to build the right thing so people actually care about it. It's not just about building usable products anymore. This is table stakes. In a world where anything is possible, the products that truly win are the ones that resonate deeply with people through thoughtful design, genuine utility, and flawless execution. That's your real competitive advantage. And to build compelling experiences, we need to understand the people we build for better than ever, not just on the surface of usability or functional requirements, but on a deeper plane, what truly matters to them. Deep customer understanding is your competitive edge. And to deeply understand our customers, you have to get to know them really, really well. Some of the best product people I've worked with are the ones who have built really strong customer habits over time. So, how do you build that muscle? Step 1, go broad. Building customer intuition isn't just about speaking directly with customers. It's also understanding the wider context in which they operate and how that shapes their expectations towards us. There are a bunch of ways we can think about expanding our customer understanding. So let's start with a familiar one. You've likely heard about dog fooding, but have you heard about cat fooding? I swear I didn't just make this up. Cat fooding is getting to know your competitors' products by using them. And I don't just mean doing a competitor analysis, having a look at their features, but actually understand how these products work and how they solve familiar problems. And even better, talk to the people who use these products and understand their experiences. Next up, mine insights from your sales and customer support teams. These teams talk to your customers every single day. There is an enormous amount of data sitting in those conversations. How do they describe their needs in their own words? What value do they see in your product? What concerns do they have? The answer is in those conversations. Who here uses Gong? Okay, a few of us. Gong is pretty awesome. It uses AI to turn your sales calls into a goldmine of customer insights. And you can even use it to set up keywords or track how often certain phrases come up. Now, just reviewing ad hoc requests as they come in isn't going to help you make informed decisions, but collating that data over time and seeing patterns will. And next up, my personal favorite, scanning social media, community, and online reviews. Has someone created an online tutorial for how to use your product? What tips did they give? What do people say out in the wild? And the beauty of the internet is, people will happily speak their mind. And sometimes the truth can be hard to hear. But it's a great place to get some early signal. Reddit was a fascinating place for me to spend my time when we rolled out a new Xero navigation. But as the conversation unfolds, you might find it evolving in interesting ways. Now, we'll talk about this project in a moment, but people eventually came around. And I know not everyone here works on products that are discussed at length on Reddit. But it doesn't just have to be your product. It can also be your wider industry or community. How is AI shaping the conversation for your target users? If you work in marketing tech, you might find some surprising insights by looking at marketing forums and communities. Now, all these sources won't tell you everything you need to know, but they're a great place to get some early signal and form some hypotheses. Next up, be deliberate. Being deliberate involves asking yourself 3 questions. What are you doing? Why are you doing it? And how are you doing it? Question 1, what are you doing? Great question. Are you wanting to gain customer empathy or to make decisions? It goes back to the question of, is it customer exposure or is it research? Think about the outcome you're trying to achieve and start there. Next up, why are you doing it? Have a clear objective. Identify what you already know. What are your facts? What do you have evidence for? What you think you know, your assumptions and hypotheses, and literally write these down, map them out, share them with your team, discuss them in the open. And what you need to find out, the questions that you need to get clarity on. I love this idea of skeptical curiosity. Remain skeptically curious. Listen to learn, not just to validate your own thinking. Confirmation bias is very, very real, and we all need to look out for in this room. Assume you might be wrong until you have enough evidence to prove you otherwise. And last but not least, consider how you learn. What methods might be most suitable? Interviews, or do you need something more quantifiable? Be mindful of who you talk to. Make sure you speak with the right people and enough of them. What do you need to find out? Make sure you're asking the right questions, non-leading questions, of course. How will you capture your data? Use AI tools that will help you take notes and transcribe your conversations for you. And think about how you make sense of your data. Watch out for recency bias. Give yourself time to sit with your data, look for patterns, and ideally do it as a team. And use AI to your advantage here as well. Use it to help you identify your own blind spots and your own biases, or to help you brainstorm questions or give feedback on your approach. Ask it to give you a list of obvious and non-obvious questions you should ask your customers. AI makes for a really fantastic research assistant and coach. So we've gone through some tips to be more deliberate in your approach to research, but what do you do with all that information? Where does all that information go? Now, I'm sure many of us have been here before. You talk to a customer, you get super, super excited, and you want to share what you learn with your team. So you write a long summary of what you found and you dump it in Slack. And don't get me wrong, sharing what you learn with your team is awesome, but this kind of data is super fleeting. And without the right systems in place, you end up with this situation where you have a leaky bucket of customer insights. You learn new things, but without the place to organize it all your learnings end up scattered and inaccessible over time. Which brings me to the last point, build a knowledge system. This really underpins everything. You can call it a library, you can call it a repository. Having a system for collecting what you learn about your customers will save you a lot of time and help you make more confident decisions faster. A good knowledge system gives you compound returns on your customer interactions. It means you can track trends in your data and more easily share what you find with your teams internally. And most importantly, it means you're not going out and wasting time learning things that you already know or you already have answers to. So how do you do it? I'd recommend using a dedicated AI-powered tool like Marvin or Dovetail, where you can make all your customer feedback and insights queryable. But you can really hack this together with all the tools you use today. The trick is being systematic, making the data accessible, and ideally having something that's got some AI-powered search behind it as well. Okay, we've learned a lot. So how do we decide when to stop? One of the biggest challenges I see teams face is knowing how to use the data they have to make decisions effectively. And I've seen this play out in two ways. On one hand, teams make big bets and decisions based on anecdotes or little to no evidence, jumping to solutions, shipping the first thing they think of, essentially crossing their fingers, hoping things will work. But I often see the opposite problem be true as well. Teams become so fixated on being customer-centered that they become afraid to take calculated risks. unable to progress without robust evidence and sometimes excessive justification. And this reliance on research can really slow things down and stifle innovation. So, how do you strike the right balance? Now, before we get into it, there are two big truths we need to accept. One, you will never be certain. Research isn't going to tell us the answer. It can't help us build certainty. The goal of research is to build enough confidence to make a decision and move forward. No matter how much data you collect, there will always be variables outside of your control. And two, not everything needs research, and that's okay. It's okay, it's fine. We don't always have enough time to dig into a problem in detail, and nor should we. Sometimes shipping a feature to learn is the best thing that you can do. When you work on a product like Xero, you are faced with countless decisions every day. What improvements can we make that will improve the customer experience today, 1 year from now, 3 years from now? How do we integrate AI features? What about our navigation, our UI, our look and feel? How does that need to evolve? Does this sound familiar? Because it's not unique. Working on products can sometimes feel like you're working on a ball of knots. And yet you need to keep moving forward. So how do you know if you've done enough research to make a decision? When is enough enough? When has a 2x2 ever let you down? Let's map out the level of evidence we need to drive decisions forward. First, let's take a look at risk. So you can think of risk in many ways. The number of customers you'll impact if you make the wrong decision, wasted engineering time building the wrong thing. It could be reputation, impact to customer trust if you make the wrong call. If you're a startup, it could be timing, entering the market at the wrong time. It could also be the type of decision you're making. Is it a one-way door or a two-way door where things are a little bit easier to undo? And on the other side, we have problem clarity. What level of understanding do you have about the current problem? So let's take a look at these one by one. First, an easy one. There are many situations where risk is low and solutions are fairly obvious. Maybe it's a UI tweak or a small feature, where even if you make the wrong call, things won't be severe. Now, you could ship and measure the impacts here, but even better, experiment with a clear hypothesis, of course. There are also many situations where risk is low, but we actually don't really know what we're dealing with. You could experiment, but you'd be stabbing in the dark. And because you've built a knowledge system, you should be able to get some signal here from data you already have available. Given the low risk, you want to minimize the amount of time you spend here. New research isn't the answer if you already have evidence you can work with. Now, moving to the risky stuff. There are situations where a problem is clear, but the risk of getting it wrong is very high. Maybe it's a new feature or a new workflow. This is where you want to use research to refine your solution. Things like concept and usability testing can be really helpful here. Put ideas in front of customers as early as you can to make sure that you're on the right track. This is the danger zone. What you want to avoid is making big bets with low confidence. This is where you really want to spend your time to fill in your gaps and understand what's going on. If you're lucky enough to work with a dedicated researcher, this is a great place to use that expertise. And because there's a lot at stake, this is where you really want to go mixed methods. Use qual and quant data to build your understanding. And you might also find that you start in one quadrant and you move to another as your confidence builds. Let's say you start with discovery to understand a problem space before moving to design and test it to make sure your solution is on the right track. And once your confidence in how you're solving a problem grows, your risk might reduce as well. And that's when you can ship to learn. Now, I'm sure this all sounds well and good in theory, but how does it work in the real world? So let's take a look at a couple of examples from my time working on Jira. Now, Jira is enormous. There are hundreds of features, menus, flows, screens, buttons, views, settings. You simply can't research everything. One of the biggest changes we rolled out in the last year was an entirely new Jira navigation. Who here has ever worked on a project redesigning a navigation before? Yeah, quite a few of us. So you'll know when it comes to these kinds of projects, there is a lot at stake. The risk of getting it wrong is very high, and understandably, confidence is low. And the approach here is obvious. You need to go deep, which is exactly what we did. Extensive research and many, many rounds of usability testing, paired with a slow, controlled rollout, helped us manage the risk of a change of this size. And incredibly, it led to historically low opt-out rates among our end users, which was a huge win for our team. So it's pretty obvious when high-risk decisions require more of our attention. But what about situations where the risks are unknown? This is especially important when you have high problem clarity. It can be tempting to build a thing and go live and see what happens. But we don't always know the risks of a decision. So what happens then? When you think of risky product decisions, you probably think of big launches, redesigns, maybe a new nav. You probably don't think about changing a single word. But if you dig a little bit deeper, you might find that there's a lot more going on, which is exactly what happened to us earlier in the year with a seemingly small change to a single word. So let me tell you the story of issues. Jira was born in 2002 as a bug tracking tool, and for about 23 years, issues was the default term used to describe the pieces of work you had in Jira. And in recent years, Jira's been going through a transformation from not just a tool for technical teams, but to meet the needs of many new teams, like marketing, sales, HR, operations. And as we learned about what these new teams need from Jira, we heard a very common problem. It doesn't speak their language. Things like issues, epics, sprints, they make sense to software teams, but they feel like a foreign language to these new users. So our understanding of the problem could not be clearer. Our customers had an issue with issues. We knew this legacy concept just had to go. And we had a few good ideas of what alternatives might be. Yet, the risk was still not clear. Would customers even notice? Does a single word even matter? And given millions of users use Jira every day, you really don't want to get things wrong. So we erred on the side of caution, testing different terms and concepts. And as you can imagine, this change was a little bit polarizing, but in a lot of cases, it was generally seen as a positive. A lot of people were already using their own terms to describe the things they had in Jira, whether it was a ticket, a task, or an issue. Getting input from our customers was hugely valuable, which is how we arrived at our new default term and simply called it work to better reflect the different types of work people do. And because we know our users value flexibility, we gave them the option to rename it to whatever made sense to them. So marketing teams can track assets, operations teams can track jobs, sales teams can track leads, or you can just call it a task, if that makes more sense to you. But the question remained, how would this change be received? Would customers even notice? Do people really care if we change something as trivial as a little word? Of all the things to make the news, it's not every day that you get a TechCrunch article written about a seemingly trivial change to a single word in your product, but here we were. Now it seems small, but it meant a lot to the people who use Jira every day. And once the news blew over, in many cases, it went unnoticed. There was a little bit of backlash, but people generally thought it was a positive. And maybe your team's gone through a similar experience. Maybe this is familiar, maybe not. But in this case, research helped us build the conviction we needed to move forward, despite the uncertainty of what would happen once we went live. Anya Nav sat in the danger zone. The approach here is obvious. Go deep. Renaming issues started from a place of high clarity but unclear risk. It could have been tempting to move forward without research, yet it was the only way we could build the confidence we needed to move forward. Different scale of change, same principle. When risks are unclear, err on the side of caution. Even the smallest change can carry an outsized impact. When in doubt, put things in front of your customers. Do controlled rollouts. Make sure you've done your research to understand the impact of your decisions. Don't mistake your confidence in a solution as a no-brainer. So we've covered a lot today. And the key message I want you to all take away is we're lucky to be building products in extraordinary times. But this privilege comes with responsibility. These times require us to know the people we're building for better than ever. Luckily, with the tools we have available today, our capacity to understand our customers has never been greater. So what I'll leave you with is this. Go broad to understand your customers deeply. Be deliberate about how you engage and learn from the people who matter most. Use AI to your advantage. Set up an AI-powered system to avoid that leaky bucket. Use it as a research coach. Make sure you make every customer interaction count. And don't wait for certainty. You will never be certain, but you can be informed enough to move forward. Don't forget to keep your headlights on. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. That QR code will help you find me. Let me know if you'd like a copy of the slides. Or find me in the break. I'd love to chat, hear more about the research challenges you're having in your team. If you couldn't tell, I love talking about this stuff. Cool. Thank you.